everyone, my name is Shabeli. I'm a board certified anesthesiologist assistant, and in this video I'm going to be talking more about the schooling, and I'm going to be featuring one of my first year students. So she's more of a junior student, and she'll be talking about some of her experiences as well. So if you're interested in that video, keep on watching. Before I get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. Alright, so this is my first year student, Hannah. Hannah, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your road into becoming a CA?
Yes, okay. So I'm actually from Georgia. Before I came into this program, I was a business background, graduated in 2017. Around 2020, I decided I would go back to school because I wasn't fulfilled with what I was doing. I took 2 years of prerequisites to get into this program, being a business background, and then start off with this program.
So what made you switch from business into medicine and specifically AA?
So my sister is actually in AA, so she's always wanted me to do it. She was like, you would love this would be perfect for you. I didn't think I could do it. I was already in my business background, you know, you get kind of stuck with what you pick, it feels like, at the beginning. You're not really thinking about it. And then when I wasn't very happy with my job, I was like, I have to make a change. And when I started taking the prerequisites, I was like, oh yeah. Even just being back in math and science, like I loved it so much. So I was really happy that I did it. And then when I started this program, the challenge of it all and how interesting the topics are, like I was glad that I did it. And I'm still glad that I did it.
Awesome. And then where did you take your prereqs, being that you had already graduated?
Yes, so since I already had like a big graduate degree from UGA, I took classes in my town. So I went to like a couple different colleges around my town, just small ones. And then I took like one online class that was specifically online, that was biochem. But other than that, super affordable. I didn't want to take out any loans. So I wanted to make sure that I could afford it and then obviously that it would count. And there was no problem with that.
And you were working and you were taking classes?
Yes, so I was still working, I was taking classes, so that's why it took me 2 years. I only had 2 of the prerequisites, calculus and English. So I took like everything and I gave myself some time to do it.
Awesome. Hannah mentioned that she took 2 years to do all her prereqs, and I think there's just no shortcuts with this profession and getting into it. So that's something that everyone that's looking into the field and wants to change their career can think about. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but it's worth it. How did you feel about loans, going into the profession, going back into likely taking loans again with graduate school?
It's definitely obviously a big sum. Some of my classmates, they live at home, so they're taking out way less. But I just like keep telling myself in the back of my head, if I can get through this program, like I will pay it off eventually. You'll pay it off. I don't think it'll be an issue at the end of the day. I do have an idea in my head. Since in Georgia they have non-for-profit hospitals, and I'm sure all over. If you work there for 10 years, they pay off the rest of your loans. So like that's what my sister did, and that's what I'm hoping to do. But everybody has like so many different options of how they pay off their loans, I think. So
yeah, in my opinion, I think the debt ratio to your salary is pretty nice compared especially to some other professions, and the time that you put into it, it's not as much money, and time-wise I think it's a good balance in terms of what you get out of school. So I think it's manageable within 5 years for most people if they wanted to be very aggressive with it. And I know people, again, that do it under 2 years and things like that. So I think it is manageable. So once you finish taking your prerequisites, how did you go about choosing your school? What stood out to you?
So honestly, a big thing was location for me. I didn't want to live in Georgia just because I didn't want a ton of distractions with all my friends being there. So I knew I wanted to be outside of Georgia. I interviewed at Denver first and I liked Denver. It was great. And then I came to Tampa right after and I was just like, oh yeah, this is where I want to live. And I just decided, like, I just kind of turned down my other interviews and decided to go there. But biggest thing was location and the vibe of the schools, you know what I mean? Like just everybody was so nice here, everybody was so laid back, and they seemed like they really wanted to like get to know me.
Awesome. Yeah. I think that was a big thing for me too. I think interviewing is a big way to get the feel of the school. And when I was interviewing, I also picked my school based on that environment feel that I got from the students I talked to and also from the location. I was from New York, so I wanted to be in a bigger city, and Fort Lauderdale was the most applicable city, I felt like, out of all the schools I interviewed in. And I'm so happy with my choice. So I think interview made a big impact on my decision. It sounds like yours as well.
Yeah, definitely. Out of the 3 places I interviewed, best Tampa.
Yeah.
For me,
Yes.
everybody has
Absolutely.
a different selection.
Yeah, and I think that's something for people to remember when you're interviewing. You should also think about the school itself. They're not the only person that's evaluating you. You should be able to evaluate the school as well, because it's a huge decision where you're going to invest your time, your money, and if you could see yourself thriving and succeeding. So I think those are tips for picking a school and being successful.
Because you have to live there for at least 15 months, so you gotta like it.
Yes. So Hannah is my first year, and she had to go to class. She left around 2 o'clock today to go to class. So as a first year, she has to balance out going to class, so taking classes and taking lectures and going to clinicals. For her program specifically, they do that after their second semester. So starting their third semester, they start balancing clinicals and classwork. And then in their fourth semester, they continue to do that. And then beyond that, for the next year, it will be clinical rotations. And I believe they have one course during that whole year of clinical rotations. So she left. But the last question that I wanted to answer in this set is, when is it too old to start AA school? And I want to talk about some of the classmates that I had and also the classmates that she mentioned. She has classmates that are around 36 years old. And my classmates were in their 40s, and one of my coworkers recently became 40 years old, and he recently started working alongside me. So that's all to say that these are the general ages that people decide that going back to AA school is worth it. So if you're in your 20s, your 30s, you're definitely, not too late. Your 40s, I still don't think it's necessarily too late. One of my classmates that was in her 40s, this was her passion. She was a respiratory therapist for, I think, a decade, and she decided that she wanted to go back and become an AA, and she's super happy. I recently caught up with her, and she seems to be doing great. She works overtime. She's also in great physical health, so I think she has a lot of years ahead of her to do this career, and she's amazing at her job. So sometimes being older is also nice because you have a career behind you. You know how to carry yourself in the hospital, and I've noticed that for her particularly, I feel like she did really well as a student in her clinicals and in the didactic portion. And she had a lot of great experience to fall back on because she had a full career in healthcare prior to being an AA. So that's also another great part about this profession, that it is not too many years, in my opinion, of school. So if someone has a lot of experience prior, they can use that and become a great AA and be a great AA student. So being a little older is not a detriment. It can actually be a great thing for that person's career, because again, they have a lot of great healthcare experience to look back on and to help push them through sometimes the hard experiences as an AA. Experience is always awesome in healthcare, I think. One of my preceptors told me that the best provider is usually the person with the most experience in that group. And I feel like that generally tends to be true, and that's what I've observed. More experience and more time in seems to really just show. So that's something that I would consider if I were starting AA school and if I were to go through AA school once again. But I'll have a separate video about thoughts on things within AA school. So if you're interested in that video, stay tuned for the next video.